President Donald Trump has signed the No Men in Women's Sports executive order, keeping biological men out of girls' and women's sports.
My administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. In recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex.
Women and men around the world are celebrating the move. Host Erick Stakelbeck posted on X, "No more locker room invasions, no more unfair advantages. As the father of 2 teenage girls, thank you, President Trump." Host Monica Crowley posted, "Thank you for saving women's sports, President Trump." And author JK Rowling also took to X, saying gender ideology has undermined freedom of speech, scientific truth, gay rights, and women's and girls' safety, privacy, and dignity. President Trump was surrounded by women and girls as he signed the executive order, and at the risk of stating the obvious, this decision is all about keeping women safe when they're competing in sport and also when they're off the field, such as getting changed in locker rooms. And Donald Trump has the support of the majority of Americans in taking this action. A recent New York Times Ipsos survey found the vast majority of Americans, including a majority of Democrats, don't believe transgender athletes should be permitted to compete in women's sports.
I just think there's such a clear trend among the American public. So transgender female athletes in women's sports, only 18% of the country says that they should be, in fact, allowed to participate in women's sports. Compare this to the opposition. I mean, my goodness gracious, 79%. You rarely get 79% of the country to agree on anything.
The NCAA has officially changed its policies to ban all biological males from women's sports. The new policy reads, a student athlete assigned male at birth may not compete on a women's team. The previous policy, which had been in place in 2010, allowed biological males to compete in the women's category after undergoing a year of testosterone suppression treatment. Caitlin Sinclair told Power Hour there is a ton of relief being felt among women in America. President Donald Trump, he's been signing plenty of executive orders, and he signed the No Men in Women's Sport executive order today, fulfilling one of his major campaign promises of keeping biological men out of women's sport. Now, Trump signed the order on National Girls and Women in Sports Day, which celebrates female athletes in women's sport and those who are committed to providing equal access to sports for all females. Here is Donald Trump.
Under the Trump administration, we will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women.
Caitlin, just how much relief is there for the women of America?
A ton. This is a classic example of just promises made, promises kept, common sense policies, a common sense agenda. That is the reason Donald Trump won over the hearts of the American people. The American people rejected the left's attempt to sort of blur the basic biological truths. And today, the president delivered on another promise.
Spokeswoman for American Values, PAC, Caitlin Sinclair, thank you so much for joining us on Power Hour. Great to speak with you. Australia's opposition leader Peter Dutton has told Sky News Australia that he supports Donald Trump's decision.
Something else that they don't like is biological men playing in women's sports. And true to his word, President Donald Trump has signed an executive order banning it. Here he was.
You know, if you'd like to gather around me, I think I'm going to be okay. Come on. Come on. Secret Service is worried about them. If we have to worry about them, we have big problems. You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is, this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
And speaking of hoping these things will translate into Australian politics, Dutton wasted no time with an exclusive on Credlin this evening, backing Donald Trump right in.
I think it's one of those debates that we have to be honest in, and it's not about discriminating against anyone, including young girls. And young girls want to be able to compete on a fair basis, and I think that is a perfectly reasonable position to hold. Or young girls not to be able to achieve their Olympic dream, their pathway to a World Cup, or to be displaced from a team because somebody has physiological advantage over them. I just don't think that is that's not in the spirit of sport.
And will you commit to banning it? Will you commit to banning it, good sir? Here was Trump saying the war on women's sports is over. A bit more emphatic than that.
We will defend the proud tradition of female athletes, and we will not allow men to beat up, injure, and cheat our women and our girls. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over.
Hallelujah. So many women across the states have missed out big time, and it ends now. And it's thanks to the tireless work of those brave ones who were reviled by their schools, reviled by their universities, refused to play, therefore missed out even before they had a chance to compete, because they simply said, I will not compete against a biological man.
It's so common sense, it almost defies logic that it has to be done.
Indeed.
But the reaction was quite astonishing. I mean, The Guardian reported on Trump's decision, thus saying it's the latest in a series of moves rolling back the rights of trans people. So The Guardian were not at all about, hey, we need to protect girls, we need to protect female sport. It was rolling back the rights of trans people. But could you imagine, Caleb, how confused lefties would have been watching that press conference that Trump did, because he was surrounded, did you see, by a group of people, and lefties would have been looking at the group of people trying to figure out, what are they? Are they girls? Are they non-binary, gender neutral? Are they boys trapped in girls' bodies? Because, of course, this is the difference between Donald Trump and the Democrats. Trump knows that there are two genders, male and female, and he can tell them apart. The Democrats had a nominee for vice president who was putting tampons in boys' bathrooms. It's obvious, which is why, Liz, I thought your point about Peter Dutton's interview was well made. It would have been nice to see Peter Dutton, our future Prime Minister, not say, it's entirely reasonable, I think, to make sure that we don't have boys in girls' sports. Entirely reasonable. It's common sense. It's basic logic. It's an outrage that we've got to a point where it needs to be said. It would have been nice to see Peter Dutton. I appreciate what he said, but he could have said it with a bit more conviction.
You're waiting for that line, Caleb, of in a coalition government will do the same.
And this is the trouble, Ruddy. He's trying to walk a tightrope at the moment where he doesn't want to upset the left of his party, and he doesn't want to alienate people in these TLCs because they want to get those votes back, etc. But it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be, a controversial issue, because it's not fundamentally about I hate transgender people. It's an issue of fairness, and that's the way in which it should be sold. That, look, we all send our kids...
It's not even an issue of fairness, it's an issue of biology.
Well, of course it's an issue
fairness you can debate.
Yeah,
biology is biology.
It's an issue of biology when we're talking about, broader stuff when it comes to transgender issues. But we're talking specifically about sport. The reason it is an issue is because biologically, yes, men have more strength than women. That's where the fairness issue comes into it, right? And so surely it's not hard to prosecute the argument that if you're sending little Sarah or whoever it is to school, that she should have just as much opportunity to excel in sport as little Johnny when you send him off to school. It's an issue of fairness, and particularly here in Australia, we say we're the country the fair go, right? If the fair go is an Australian value, it should be the easiest thing to possibly sell.